Hi, this is Mr. Hood. I'm in ridiculously beautiful Monument Valley here in Arizona, and I'm going to tell you how to find a probability. So let's say you are asked to find the probability of you reaching into a deck of cards and pulling out a red queen. Well, probabilities are pretty simple. Probabilities are the ratio of the number of good outcomes compared to the number of total outcomes. Well, we can write a ratio in a number of different ways, but you never go wrong writing a ratio as a fraction. So let's write it as a fraction. So, okay, so every probability, a ratio of good outcomes to total outcomes. So when we look at the probability of pulling a red queen, well, what's the total number of outcomes possible? Well, in a deck of cards, there's 52 cards, so the bottom of this fraction is going to be 52. Now, how many of those are red queens? Well, there's 4 queens in a deck, but only 2 of them are red, so the number of good outcomes possible is 2. Now, with every probability, we want to simplify that fraction to make it as easy to work with as possible. So 2 52nds simplifies to 1/26. So there's a 1 in 26 chance of reaching into a deck of cards and pulling out a red queen. So, what if we try it again and we put the card back in the deck and we want to figure out the probability of pulling any queen, or whoops, any king. So again, what's the total number of outcomes? 52. And how many kings are there in a deck? Well, there's actually 4. So there's a 4 in 52 chance of you pulling any kind of king. But we want to reduce that fraction. So our simplified fraction says there's a 1 in 13 chance of reaching into that deck of cards and pulling out any king. Now, here's the deal. Let's say we want to find the probability of both of these events occurring. In other words, we reach into the deck, we pull out a red queen, we put it back, we reach again and pull out a king. Whenever we want to find the probability of multiple events, we have to take the probability of each event and multiply them together. So, to find the probability of pulling a red queen, putting it back, then finding a king, we're going to take the probability of one and multiply it by the probability of the other. So 1/26 times 1/13 is 1 in 338. So if you want to find the probability of pulling a red queen out of the deck, putting it back, then pulling a king, there's only a 1 in 338 chance that that's going to happen. So in conclusion, anytime you're asked to find a probability, you want to take the number of good outcomes and put that in the numerator, and take the total number of outcomes and put that in the denominator, and then simplify that fraction. If you have multiple events and you want to find the probability of both events happening, take the probability of one, multiply it by the probability of the other, and the product you get is the probability of both events occurring.